What's up, guys? Welcome to our replay day for our level 24 cast that we built earlier this week. I was gonna get this video out a little bit quicker, but I lost all my replays when they did that little update that they did. They only changed like 3 units. I was gonna go over the next update for you guys, but they really only changed what Jimbo, Pete Poundmore, Countess, and Zeke. So I don't really know. I mean, the Jimbo could be good. I haven't really noticed exactly what they did with his damage curve. They said they changed it on reworked it on all levels, is what they actually said. So I'm not sure if they nerfed it at level 26 and above. If they did that, I won't be happy. But if they just buffed to the lower levels, I think that's good. Pete Poundmore, Floor Punch does more damage. I believe that's his over the head thing, right? That's what that's called. Yeah, Floor Punch. I mean, that's okay. His Floor Punch was the weakest of his abilities for a while now, ever since Charge got buffed, so I guess that's a good thing. I don't think I'll still use it because it doesn't hit all that often anyway. It's pretty easy to dodge it. Countess having more resistance and damage is actually pretty big, and I think she could be used quite a bit more often now. So I'll be taking a look at that to see how much they actually buffed it. They didn't really give any numbers or anything. And then they nerfed Zeke, which, I mean, I don't really care. Like, Zeke, I guess you could see him as being overpowered on Headshot, but I didn't really think he had that many problems. Um, I just think all of the other units are just so trash that that's why people are using him so often. But I didn't even have him in this castle, and it's reasonably effective. Probably not as effective as I wanted it to be, but it still probably beats around half of people, maybe a little bit higher than half. Obviously, my replay, when I load it up, I'll have a lot more wins, but that's because some people at like level 15 still run my castle just because they want to leave a comment, or just because they want to run my castle. But either way, we'll look at some changes that I made. I didn't really change all that much, and I don't remember everything that I changed, but I remember I did switch around one of these mouse wheel traps. A couple people suggested that I do that, so I did just that, and I tried to, mess with people's timing as they were jumping onto this trap. Doesn't always work, but it doesn't really have to. I threw in a ballista trap here just to add some extra pressure. I'm not sure if I had this ballista here before or not. I think maybe this is new. I added one little corrosive trap. I threw in a few more corrosive traps, and I think I really like these when you're using these spike tunnels because they lower the resistances so much that you take quite a bit of extra damage when you have that debuff on you and you're going over these traps. So I kind of like that. That corrosive mine, I think I should use them a little bit more. I might see if I can grab a couple extra points, maybe remove something down in my fire mine trap. But I mean, we're just going to kind of look through what I have here because I'm not sure what I actually changed, so if people want to kind of compare it to my last video or something like that. But we're just going to kind of look through all of this stuff. I think for the most part I haven't really changed all that much. I did remember to note that you can kind of skip this guy, but I did realize that as people go across these and they don't stop at this area, it does force them to take a couple extra hits. At least 2 or 3 ticks of damage, and that's about how much this guy does, so it doesn't really matter all that much. I think it's pretty good still. The springboard traps have been pretty effective. I've seen a couple people hit them multiple times and take a lot of extra damage from that. I think I changed this positioning and I changed this room around a bunch. I used to have a mine sitting right here because I wanted it there so that if people like try to just run to the end of my castle, they would leave a mine behind. But people were healing up off of it a little bit too much. Mages and knights were using it to heal up, and it was kind of right in the middle of these 2 spike tunnels, so it was really good for them, and it was forcing them to not have to use as many potions. So I ended up removing that mine, and the only one I left outside of my boss room is this one over here. I changed this positioning, like I said, just to... I don't really remember why exactly. I think to make it so that if you're standing here, you can't get one headshot and kill off the IMAX or something like that. I just tried to make it a little bit more difficult to do that. I think I put in an extra corrosive trap here. One of these I think wasn't in here. But for the most part, this is the same. This portion of my castle is actually working out surprisingly well. The Cyclops on charge does a pretty good job of either pushing them onto the spike trap, into the corrosive, or onto the springboard trap. So it all kind of works out pretty well together, and I think this Cyclops really pays for himself quite a bit. The Pete Poundmore not so much. The Dampener is still pretty annoying, but the Pete Poundmore, I mean, he's fine, but a lot of times he gets scared to walk over this spike trap and the person can stand here, and even though he's getting silenced, you know, and getting hit with one ballista, it's not quite enough. But it's alright, it still works out pretty well. And then this one's pretty much the same, I think. I'm not sure if I changed around the ballista positioning at all, but for the most part it's the same. And then we have this entrance into my fire mine. I put in the silence trap, the 4 ballistas. I think for the most part this is the same. I might not have put the silence in here until after, but I think it works out pretty well. It screws with people's timing the same as like this mouse wheel thing in the front of my castle does, where you have this jelly wall that you're going to try to walk into, and then you're going to try to leap over these the best you can. And if you get, you know, caught inside of a silence, you might take 4 extra ballista shots, which is a bunch of damage. So that's the main reason for this silence trap. And then you got the two corrosive mines. I think I could even take out one of these and move it somewhere else in my castle, because you only really need one. And then here, I think I've changed this up a little bit. I basically just have this dampener. I was trying to make it so that he would silence you as soon as you got like thrown on here, so that if you managed to get across these but you still got kind of thrown, you wouldn't be able to use an ability to get off of these quickly. It didn't really work out. He doesn't seem to silence quick enough, so I either can try to tweak this, or I could just remove him and, you know, change it out for a few more traps or something like that. And then that's it. That's just the rest of my castle. So we'll jump into a couple of replays. Here, we'll kind of go up. I think I lost most of my replays down in this area here, so there's where I lost all of my replays. So I was waiting an extra day or two to get a couple of extra replays. We can just skim through these, I guess, really quickly, so you can kind of get a general feel for how many wins I'm getting. But for the most part, a lot of these attackers are like level 20, level 10, level 16, so you can't really take all of them to heart. Like a lot of what I've learned is that knights deal with these spike tunnels very well, like extremely well. They only take like 100 less damage than mages and archers do from these spike tunnels, so it's a lot easier for them to get through. As you can see, a lot of these losses are going to be knights. So it's pretty good against archers, pretty good against mages, but not so good against knights. So let's go down to the bottom and take a look at a couple of replays from the beginning here, and we'll just go through a couple. I don't have any specific replays that I want to watch. Alright, so we'll start off with a win. Let's see, someone who's reasonably close to my level. Look for some like plus crowns or something like that. Clearly I'm not finding the replays. Let's see. Alright, so there's a bunch of plus crowns in here. So we can take a look at this mage right here. We'll start up from the bottom. It's hard for me to actually get plus crowns because I have such a high crown count to begin with. See if this actually loads. And we're back. I had to restart the client to actually get into the replay, so if there's a little hiccup there, that's why. So here we are watching this replay. So he gets hit by this first springboard trap. That's why I really like those springboard traps. People generally try to get off the spike traps as quickly as possible. Manages to make it past this Pete Palmore, but takes a lot of damage, has to use a potion. And you can see, like, these spike traps do really good against mages, but when we start watching knights, they'll be able to just pretty much walk right over them and not really even care. It just takes too much damage from the IMAX there. Alright, I want to see, make sure it's not a little bit too loud, so people can actually hear me over it. Just lower the volume a little bit. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's go back to wherever that mage was. We'll go up from there. Alright, so we can watch an archer win, and then we'll watch an archer lose to me, and then an archer win against me. So let's take a look at the win first. Level 24. Same level as my castle.
Is this what passes for a castle these days?
So again, gets hit by the springboard trap, but he ends up blocking the damage. But still, it's a good trap to have in there. This guy has bear traps, so he should have a little bit of an easier time against the Pete Palmore than other people. As well as having roll, that high block chance when you're rolling through a Pete Palmore is really good. Alright, so up against the IMAX now. It's kind of weird that he didn't take a tick of damage there. Sometimes the radius doesn't seem like it's actually correct. I don't know, I'm waiting until level 28 really until I can use Stairmasters. Because IMAX just don't, they're not really my favorite unit. I think like the Elite Vampire that they changed, I think they need to change the IMAX and buff its resistances as well. Maybe slightly on its damage, but mainly the resistances is what it needs. Because the Vampire and the IMAX were added around the same time, and they left the resistances the same as their normal counterparts. So it was the same as the Vamp and the same as the Stairmaster, respectively. And I don't think that's just good. I mean, the Pete Palmore has more than a Cyclops, you know, Jimbo has more than a Smelly Warrior. All of these other ones had higher resistances, so they really do need to take a look at that. And then also the Elite Crab is the same way, I believe. But I mean, he's got more issues than his resistances. He's just Crab and the Elite version. I don't see why anyone would use them, especially now when time wasting isn't really an issue. So yeah, you can see how this Cyclops does really well. You know, he dodged downwards, so he got hit by the springboard trap. If he dodged upwards, he would have gotten hit by the corrosive mine, even though he still got hit by it. But it works out pretty well. And someone just looted me, of course, but we'll watch that replay a little bit later, probably, depending on if they're super high level or if it's around my range. Alright, so let's, actually, is this, hold on. Alright, so I guess we're going to watch a mage beat me. The same guy that just had lost, we'll watch him beat me. I thought it was an archer for some reason, but we'll watch this mage beat me right now. The castle's definitely beatable. I think my last castle at level 22 had a better win rate than this one does. Alright, so this guy, he's actually just rushing past it now. Which, like I said, it puts him in a kind of awkward spot. Although he's doing really good at using his Death Bolt or whatever to heal himself up. That heals mages for a lot of damage. This is the problem that I don't like about capping monsters, is when you run past them like this, they just don't fight. I mean, it's like there's almost no reason not to just run past a mob, you know? We saw back a couple seconds that Pete Palmore was just standing on top of a spike trap waiting to attack, and it just doesn't feel right. I mean, I realize that they have to do something about it, but I would rather them do like room limits on monsters or something like that instead of having hard caps, you know? Because if you force someone to pull an extra room of mobs, they should have to get punished for it. Alright, and then he manages to get across pretty easily. I think the electric charge is a little bit longer than roll, so, you know, for mages it might be good to have 5 springboard traps instead of 4, but I don't really try to balance it for mages and versus archers. I'd rather just have 4 in there, I think. Because then it would be bad against archers. Or not as good. Because they would be able to get... And even anyone who steps on the first springboard trap would end up getting stun resistance by the 5th, so I wouldn't really like that either way. Alright, let's look for another replay. We have a ton of knights, but these are all probably practice attacks. Here's one, archer, level 24, loses. I like to just look for crown differences. Usually that's the people who have real attacks. But sometimes people who lose to me give me 0 crowns just because they don't have high enough crowns to, you know. Like if you're a level 20 or 22 even, and you have like 0 crowns, I probably wouldn't get any if I ended up beating you. Alright, so this guy seems to just run past everything. And ends up getting thrown. This is a good thing also for people who just try to run past everything. If you get thrown backwards, it's pretty annoying. But, I mean, this is the whole purpose. Like, if you're a good enough attacker and you do this, you could probably kill everything in the boss room. I mean, he's making a couple mistakes here, but you can get through the entire castle with maybe 2 potions, and then you have 2 more potions to kill the rest of the mobs inside of the castle, and there's a hard cap on like 40 or whatever. Inside of the boss room, or even outside, you could, you know, only have to fight 26 or whatever at a time. I think they really need to work on that, the hard capping, because he's just going to stand here and start trying to pick things off. And we already know he loses, but he could pretty easily win this, I'm pretty sure. He might actually kill off all of the mobs and might die to the fire trap, to be honest. I'm going to ×2 it just because it's a fairly long replay, but it doesn't look like he's going to lose to this point. And this is what I don't really like, is when people are able to do this. It makes it look a lot easier than it should be, you know? And you can say, like, maybe you should have more mobs inside of your castle or something like that, and maybe that's the case, but I don't know. I don't think like there's a specific amount of mobs that would make it even more difficult. I mean, you have to have a good mix, but at the same time, if you can kill off this many mobs, what's stopping you from killing off more? There's still a hard cap on how many can attack at once. I know I've done it to people before, so he does end up dying to this. And you can see he does get silenced, but I don't know how well it actually works. Alright. Alright, so here's another Archer 7 crown win.
What's yours will soon be mine.
So again, another person who gets hit on that springboard trap. See, it's definitely worth its point cost in my opinion. It's pretty good. And then he gets hit by it again. Ends up having to go back. So yeah, a couple people do this, where they will pull this and then walk backwards towards this entrance. There's nothing that you can really do to stop people from doing that.
Doing so good over here.
They'll take a couple extra hits from the spike trap, and that's about it. But definitely will never hit the time at like 146 if they go back to this entrance. Gets thrown. I think this has hit him 3 or 4 times, so definitely worth its defense point cost for sure.
I can't take much more of this. That does the job.
Oh my god, it got hit by him again. This springboard trap is a hero. But yeah, I think pulling back is definitely a mistake against certain units. I mean, the IMAX is very... it's a lot weaker when you kite it, because if you can get outside of its range and just stutter step, it's really good. But if you have to go back over, you know, 5 spike traps to be able to do it, I don't think it's really worthwhile. I think you just take a couple ticks of damage from the IMAX instead. Alright, so he's got no potions left. So at this point, you know, once he gets low enough, he's just going to end up dead.
You guys are pathetic. Is that all you got?
Alright, and then he just dies to the ballista traps there. So yeah, definitely some good sustained damage when they go over those spike traps too many times, or if they get hit by the springboards too many times. Makes it a lot more difficult. Alright, so we're going to start watching some of these knights. I'm not even sure of how many people I've beaten that are knights, that are around my level. Like, they have a pretty high win rate against me. I definitely lose more to knights around my level than I win against them. So let's take a look at a couple of these, see if any just sprint across the spike traps and, you know, dance their way to the treasure room, because spike traps are definitely not made to kill knights.
Nice username. How
How long did it take you to come up with that one?
Alright, so let's see exactly how much damage he actually takes against this. If he gets ticked by these, because they don't actually, like, mages and archers have to wait around and try to time this stuff out for spike traps. Knights don't really have to. It really doesn't matter if they get hit by these. So he's going to take 140 damage. It's upwards of 300 for archers, so it's almost half damage. And see, he can just kind of walk across it and it doesn't actually matter. And that's why this type of setup with this many spike traps is not good against knights. Even IMAXs, which are magic damage, which you would think are pretty good against knights, just doesn't really do it. Now he has only 1 potion left, but I don't think he's used 3. I think he just came in with a lower amount of potions. So yeah, he can just kind of run across this stuff, and it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna 2x it because it's a 4-minute replay. Basically, he's probably just gonna abuse this corner and stand here. Which, I mean, he could do this or he could run into the boss room, and either one would kind of work for him. Because there's just not enough points for me to put pressure in this corner and in the boss room. I mean, this is kind of a rare circumstance anyway. But I guess he's running into at least a little bit of trouble only because he didn't bring a full 4 potions with him. But yeah, this is definitely not the setup to beat knights with. Now knights, I would say generally are one of the weaker classes anyway, so you don't really have to tailor your castle to beat them. I think tailoring it more to beat archers and mages is probably better. And he even gets thrown by this, but he ended up getting ticked on 2 of the springboard traps, so that made it so that he had some stun resistance, was able to run away from some of the fire mines. Alright, then he's just going to finish up all of these mines and get a win.
Is it my birthday already?
But only 2 stars, which is good. Alright, then we'll watch the other knight that beats me, and then that's the last knight unless we see a win. I'll 2x this one as well. This guy makes it in quite a bit better of a time, but still not close to where he needs to for 3 stars, because he runs past everything. This is probably more of a common thing for knights to do than other classes, because he doesn't have to use a potion nearly as many times just from the spike trap damage. As an archer, you have to use a potion pretty quickly. Probably you need at least 1 per room. And he ends up getting hit by a lot of these, but he still had charge up, so it was okay. And he's just going to kill everything in the boss room. So this isn't really that exciting of a replay, we'll just 2x it. I find it pretty easy for people to... I find it pretty easy to kill things in the boss room as well if there's no traps inside of it. So this is probably a decent strategy for knights to do against a castle like this. Alright, let's look for another replay. We'll do a couple more, maybe 2 more replays. See if I can find any more archers or knights that lose. We can find a couple knights that are on practice attacks that lose, like level 25, which isn't too bad. The problem is they're only using 1 potion and stuff like that, so there's no real way for me to see if you know, see someone who uses all 4 potions and dies with sustained damage, which it's pretty hard to make a knight do that at this level anyway. We'll watch this one mage, and then we'll watch one of those knights that are practice attacks. And then we'll finish up the video with that. Okay, so this guy actually dies really quickly. He just gets thrown, and then just probably dies to the Pete Poundmore. Pete Poundmore just does so much damage. You can't just stand there and take the shots. So yeah, he just dies to the Pete Poundmore. Alright, well that was a pretty short replay. Let's take a look at one of those knights that we went against. Level 30 knight, obviously, is going to beat me. Alright, so we'll look at one of these. It's both the same person, so we'll look at the first one here. If it's another short replay, we'll watch the second probably as well. And it is 43 seconds. So overall, this defense is pretty good, but it's pretty weak against knights. Alright, so it looks like he's going for a run as well. The problem is he has no potions. So he's not going to be able to make it. He probably realized he has no potions, and just decided to see as much of the castle as possible, and then, you know, replay it. So we'll watch him replaying it, see if he brought potions the second time. A lot of these practice attacks are similar to this though, because they don't have anything to lose. So he didn't bring any potions. So we'll just, you know, go through it really quickly because he's going to do the same thing. He just wants to see the end of the end of the castle, I think. And he's not going to see the flare trap, but for the most part he sees everything else. Alright, so how about this guy, Vingthor? At least he used one potion, so he probably tried to make it through. Yeah, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Alright, so we'll watch this replay and then we'll finish up the video. So yeah, I mean, Pete Palmore can do reasonable amounts of damage to knights. Especially if they don't have the abilities to stun lock him. You know, if they don't have Lashing Flames, if they don't have the Stunning Blow or whatever it is, Punt. There's a lot of things like that that will do pretty well. He got lucky and actually confused him. So it started attacking his Defendatron that was guarding him. Or else he might have died just like right there. He's taking quite a bit of damage. Yeah, I don't really, like, Fiery Weapon I don't really normally see used all that much. Healing Strike is a pretty necessary skill. Flame Coat is okay, but I definitely like to have some crowd control with my knight. But then again, I'm not a good knight, so I don't really have much to say in the way of skills. Like, alright. So yeah, IMAXs don't do all that much against knights either, unfortunately. So he actually charged into the charging Cyclops, and apparently knights win when they charge into Cyclopses. It's kind of funny. And see, this is the problem with this Pete Poundmore. He kind of gets, you know, stuck, and he doesn't like to go over the spike trap once he takes a little bit of damage. And then, of course, once you run past him, you have the issue where people just don't have enough tickets to attack you. Which I think is something they definitely need to take a look at. I think they need to find a better way of making it so people don't put everything in one room, you know? Don't put too much of a restraint on them, but at the same time, you could put like a small cap on rooms or something. You know, whatever the hard cap is now, put that room to room. Or soft cap, or whatever you need to do, but I think that would be better than the ticket system that they have now. He ends up getting hit by actually all of these, and that's how he ends up dead. So that's still good against knights. That's one of the easier ways to kill knights, is by using the fire mine traps like this. You can kill up to like level 29 knights with these things. And I'm not sure exactly what he's doing. Maybe he's just looking at a specific room or something. Yeah, alright. So that's that. We are going to end the video now. Take one last look at the castle. And I'll probably remake another one at level 26. I gotta farm up a few more resources before I can do that. But it shouldn't take me too long. And actually, there's this. I think I said I was gonna actually watch the replay that just came in from this archer. He ends up doing my castle 3 times. So let's do kind of an encore replay, I guess, and watch his first loss against my castle. We'll 2x it and just quickly watch this last replay, because I haven't seen this one yet. Alright, so he rushes past pretty much everything. He does get hit by a ton of things and ends up using 2 potions just to get through, and that's the reason why like knights can do this a lot easier than archers. But if you, as an archer, if you go past all those spike tunnels, you're going to take enough damage where you have to use at least 2 potions, and he's still pretty low on life after that. So you can do it with less potions if you take it a little bit slower, but you'll probably never hit, 3 stars. Which, my castle for hitting 3 stars, it's going to be pretty competitive because I can run my castle as many times as I want to, getting as low of a time as possible. So, he's already over my time right there, and he's still got to go through this spike, through the fire mine trap. But it's pretty close. I mean, he's one of the closer people to hitting a time, but he's going to end up dying to this fire mine trap. He's got 1 potion left, and he just gets thrown and gets killed right there. Ends up reviving because he wants that gear, which I would do as well. Alright, so that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be rebuilding my castle at level 26, so you guys can look forward to that. I hope we see some more balance changes before I end up doing it, but I guess Jimbo got a change, so I was going to use a lot of Jimbos at level 26 anyway. So we'll have to see what they actually changed, if they nerfed the high-end damage, or if they just buffed the lower-end damage, or if they buffed everything, I don't know. But either way, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.